Hello, good afternoon. This is the Midday News. The news is live on Joy99.7 FM here in Accra. In Kumasi, we're on Love 99.5 FM and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, we are including Lolonyo FM in Hohoe, A1 Radio, Dreams FM in Bolgatanga, Jubilee Radio, Keta, Radio Y in Wa, KTU Radio in Koforidua, and Radio Max in Takrade. You can go digital. It's on Spotify, Facebook, and myjoyonline.com. This afternoon, Kola agreed, but payment to be worked out as government hints at a tripartite committee to discuss the modalities for payment.
We will engage the leadership exclusively on the mode of payment. And that is agreed. There are even consequential matters that arises out of this. Very soon, we will even convene a tripartite meeting.
But organized labor is warning any delay in the payment of COLA may result in another action.
The minister at the negotiation table requested for some kind plan a payment. So the minister will in due course engage with the leaders on the payment plan.
Comic, insensitive and uninspiring. That's the NDC's description of the Vice President's presentation on the economy, in which he attributed the current challenges to COVID, Russian-Ukraine war, the banking sector cleanup, and legacy debt in the energy sector.
The attempt to blame the previous government is a joke. It is a cynical, disrespectful joke that the Vice President must do away with. He must take himself and his office serious. They want people are soft. They are going through hard. The last thing they need is a comical performance from the Vice President.
Well, some economists have also questioned the timing of the presentation.
He is the economic management team head of this country. And so if the country has taken a decision to go to IMF, it should have come earlier to address us. I would say that, the Vice President did not take Ghanaians serious.
And this afternoon, Stop the Impudence. Chairman of governing NPP takes on critics who are charging the party to postpone its national officers' election due to the current economic crisis in the country.
I should not even spend money on myself because you think that there is austerity to ask of us not to even organize our elections. And it's marks of impudence. Honestly, he doesn't understand what he's talking about. So let's see. Mr. Lot says intellectual propaganda.
I'll take you live to the conference ground and also hear from the party as some 6,000 delegates arrive at the Accra Sports Stadium barely 24 hours to the main elections.
The party, in terms of the election, has created 20 voting centers discussion with the Electoral Commission for the main 5 positions.
And their sports.
Well, we hear from Ghana athlete Benjamin Azamati, who gets ready for his first 100-meter race in the World Athletics Championship.
We look forward to it. And later, diesel, petrol and LPG will witness a reduction this weekend between 11 and 4%. But the bulk oil distributor is warning there could be shortages of the product on the market in the coming weeks due to funding challenges.
You can't buy something at 12 and sell at 11 and expect to make money. That's why we have to make sure we properly sanitize the funding structure, because it's the biggest problem you have in this industry.
We have that and more in this afternoon's edition of the Midday News with me, Emefa. Apawu, this is your home of independence, fearless and credible journalism. More reason why you ought to stay for the details. Thanks for sticking with us. Now, government this afternoon agreed to pay a 15% cost of living allowance to organized labor. But the payment of the money will take weeks before the worker can begin to enjoy it. I'm talking about COLA. This is because the Employment Ministry is hinting of a tripartite committee to first decide on the modalities for this particular payment. The workers called off their strike last night, which gravely affected academic work in various schools after agreeing the percentage payment. My colleague Samuel Imbura was there all day when the decision was reached.
They came to the table with a demand of 20% of cost of living allowance. This, the unions believed, will cushion them against the harsh economic conditions. Some of them had already laid down their tools in protest of government's failure to meet their demand. But after days of stalled negotiations with government and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, a 15% COLA has now been agreed by all parties to be paid to all public sector workers effective July 1, 2022. Here is Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, Dr. Anthony Yaba, announcing the decision.
We are very, very pleased to announce that we have just agreed a COLA of 15%, and we now are going to ask all the workers who are on strike, especially in the education sector, to go back to work.
General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, Thomas Musa, has since directed all teachers to return to the classroom. Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Ignatius Bafwewa, expressed gratitude to the labour unions for their cooperation.
But I also want to extend a hand of appreciation to organized labor. We began this with a spirit of cooperation, and we have ended with a spirit of cooperation. And one thing which was quite evident in all our discussions was that we all wanted to protect the integrity of our country.
The negotiation from government side within 22 labour unions included Minister for Education, Dr. Yao Educhum, Minister for National Security, Albert Kandapa, Finance Minister, Ken Oforiatta, with his deputy, Abina Osayasari, and Deputy Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Bright Rekubrobe. Information Minister, Kojo Pon, was also in attendance. Samuel Mbora, Joy News.
Well, it's emerging today that even though the COLA is going to be paid, workers do not know when exactly they are going to get it. They may have to wait a little longer because Deputy Employment Minister Bright Rekubrobe has been telling Joy News government is looking at a committee to determine the modalities for this payment.
The first is to agree on the percentage that you will pay. The next meetings will then be the mode of payment. So the modalities that we use in the payment, yesterday we made it clear to the union leaders that we will engage the leadership exclusively on the mode of payment. And that is agreed. There are even consequential matters that arises out of this. And my minister yesterday outlined them. But very soon we will even convene a tripartite meeting and then see how other workers who are not part of the single spine pay salary structure will even be considered in this. So there are consequential matters, including the mode of payment. So we will do this. The most important thing is that we have agreed that cost of living allowance will be effective 1st July 2020. It is, the name as it implies, is cost of living allowance, which is as a result of certain factors that have arisen in the course of the year or in the course of time.
We'll hear from Labour on this shortly, but Fair Wages and Salaries Commission also says it will ensure the Controller and Accountant General has all the clearance to pay the COLA once it's agreed. El Ankara is a Public Affairs Director.
I mean, once they signed an agreement, I understand, of course, you come back with, of course, they signed previous agreements and there's been issues like this. Those issues are not necessarily because government does not want to pay, they're because of the payment schedule, where I believe at the liability of funds, they're looking at what is in the coffers as we speak. They're looking at other expenditures that have to be dealt with, and they're looking at many other scenarios. So once they're done with that, they will announce it in due course. I believe in the next week or couple of weeks, possibly less than that, we will get to know what the schedule is. And
well, workers were asking for 20%. They got 15%. Yesterday, we heard from the National Association of Teachers, and they called off that strike. We'll be checking in the classrooms because the report we are getting is that even though the strike is off, it doesn't look like learning and teaching is ongoing in some of the schools that we visited. But let's bring in TEU. That's the Tertiary Education Workers Union. On this development, they may have agreed on 15%, but we do not know exactly when the monies will begin to reflect in their pockets. Charles Kofi Osei is the Deputy General Secretary of TEU, joins us on the line. We are grateful for your time here on the Midday News. So 15%, but it doesn't look like you know when exactly the money is going to come. You agree with this development?
Yeah, thank you very much, Emefa, and good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to the cherished listeners. Let me first make this correction. Please, we are not tertiary education. We are teachers and educational workers union of Trades Union from Ghana.
Pardon me, thank you.
And my name is Charles Kofi Osei, not Charles. Yeah, thank you very much. What is very key is the agreement that we raised on the 15th September. We know that some modalities will have to look at the few other things. But the joy that we have is the consensus and the agreement that we raised that 15% of cost of living allowance will be to all public sector workers, including our members in all education, pre-tertiary sectors.
But we've been hearing from the Labour Ministry on this. You may have called off the strike, but it appears that a tripartite committee, amongst others, will have to be put in place. Then we can know when exactly the payment will be made. This is an agreement that you're satisfied with, isn't it?
Yeah, I do not. We are hoping by next week a lot of things will be done by that. And we will know the modalities and we can communicate to our entire members.
Okay. We are grateful. That's Charles Kofi Osei. He's the Deputy General Secretary of the Teachers and Educational Workers Union there. But let's do some quick checks in the Ashanti region, for instance. And Emmanuel Bright Kweku joins us on the line. Emmanuel, you've been visiting some of the schools. What did you find?
All right, so Emefa, I've been visiting the State Experimental Basic School, Basic School in Ashanti region. What we found over there is that the teachers have reported to school. However, the students who are supposed to receive the teaching were not around. The teachers had opened the class for these students to come, but unfortunately, they didn't come. My interactions with the head teacher over there indicated that he had called some of the parents to find out from them why they are not coming to school. And then he told me that the parents have assured him that on Monday they will be coming to school. And then the reason why they didn't come today particularly was because today being a weekend, almost a weekend, so they didn't want to waste money to make the awards come to school. So hopefully on Monday they will be coming to school. However, when we went, we met some JHS students over there, those sitting for the BEC. They had been coming to school for a while now. So those were the ones we met there.
Well, that's my colleague Emmanuel Bright Kweku giving us a picture of some of the schools he's visited in the Ashanti region. We turn our attention to other stories now, and comical, insensitive and uninspiring. That's the Opposition National Democratic Congress's description of the Vice President's presentation on the economy and factors that led the country to seek the IMF bailout. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia blamed the current state of the economy on the COVID-19 pandemic, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the banking sector cleanup, and the energy sector legacy debt. There's more in this report by Maxwell Agbagba.
Debt levels are increasing. This is happening globally.
Dr. Baumia's appearance at the event was highly anticipated by many, particularly in the wake of the government's decision to go to the IMF. It was his first public comment on the move to seek the support from the fund. This was his reaction to public criticism of government's U-turn after the then opposition NPP disapproved of the NDC-led government's decision to seek the support of the IMF in 2015.
If you ask a carpenter to roof your house, and he roofs this house, and suddenly the roof collapses without any rainfall or wind, suddenly you have a collapsing of the roof. Will you not blame the carpenter who did the roofing? Will you not blame the carpenter? But if the carpenter roofs your house and the roof collapses because there's a tornado and a storm which has blown away roofs and windows and walls of many houses, will you blame the carpenter? Will you blame the carpenter?
The Vice President accused his predecessors of being partly responsible for Ghana's economic troubles and the decision to go to the fund.
Ghana has hit with a quadruple whammy. Energy sector excess capacity payments, banking sector cleanup, COVID-19, and the Russia-Ukraine war. The banking sector cleanup and the excess capacity payments were the result of policies of the previous government.
He urged Ghanaians to brace themselves for tougher times, adding the current economic hardship many are experiencing could get worse before it gets better.
We must understand that things could get worse before they get better.
Well, apart from COVID and the Russian war, we heard the Vice President single out the NDC for blame, saying the NPP government inherited an economy in tatters in 2017. Well, today, the NDC has been reacting. We'll head to Parliament shortly on this. But first, let's hear from Felix Fusukwache. He's an aide to the former President John Mahama.
The decision to collapse the bank was the decision of Apawu and his colleagues in this government. It was not the decision of the NDC. 25 billion was paid only because the banks were collapsed. So the attempt to blame the previous government is a joke. It is a cynical, disrespectful joke that the Vice President must do away with. He must take himself and his office seriously. You see, when people are suffering, they are going through hardship, they are going through pain and anguish. The last thing they need is a comical performance from the Vice President. They need serious, reflective, sober celebrations of the economy, not this kind of thing. And then, as far as the capacity payments are concerned, I have already told you that it is a lie that they are paying for excess capacity.
That's Felix Kwachiofosu. He's an aide to the former President John Mahama. Let me bring in our parliamentary correspondent, Kwekwa Sante, and we know that the minority have also been reacting to this. Tell us what they've been saying.
So, Emefa Atofosin, who is the ranking member on the Finance Committee, has been taking particular aim at the Vice President, describing his comment of a batch of jokes and insensitive. He's asking the Vice President to take responsibility as chairman of the Economic Management Team for the mismanagement of the economy, in his words.
I want to ask our Vice President, where was he when the economic management team that he supervised, they were borrowing as if there was no tomorrow? Where was he when they were sharing the COVID money like Kalewole? Where was he when they were granting tax exemptions like Wole? I want to find out from him, where was he when they were misrepresenting the fiscal data in a manner that became a public and international ridicule? And let him accept that he has failed. I'm calling on him, our Vice President Bawumia, that sadly you have failed. Sadly, you are running away from the responsibility. That is not a mark of leadership. A leader is the one who accepts responsibility and moves on. I urge him to urgently appear before us as a country and apologize. He should apologize to the people of Ghana for giving us hope and for promising us heaven only for him to deliver hell.
That's a ranking member on the Finance Committee of Parliament, forcing there, speaking in Parliament. Well, the economist with the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Lord Mensah, says the government's decision to overspend during the last election and excessive borrowing should be blamed rather for the crisis. He's also unhappy with the timing of Dr. Bawumia's presentation.
The timing that he came to address the country on these economic issues and how we ended up with IMF, for me, is wrong. And apart from the time, the platform that he used, he is the economic management team, head of this country. And so if the country has taken a decision to go to IMF, it should have come earlier to address us by using a national platform.
That's Professor Lord Mensah. Well, this weekend, there could be a reduction in the price of petroleum products, and this is according to the date released by the bulk oil distributors. Diesel and liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, are expected to go down by over 11%, whilst petrol will witness a 4% reduction at the pumps. But the availability of the products in the coming weeks is a major concern because the distributors say getting funding at reasonable rate from the banks is proving very difficult. Outgoing chief executive of the bulk oil distributor, Senyo Hosi, warns there could be crisis if the Bank of Ghana does not step in.
Very soon there'll be a crisis on that particular part of the sector. And that's why the banks, together with the chamber, have taken a proactive step to look at ways to de-risk and cure this problem. You can't buy something at 12 and sell at 11 and expect to make money. That's why we have to make sure we properly sanitize the funding structure, because it's the biggest problem you have in this industry. You have a shortage problem when you actually have a funding problem.
Well, electricity and water tariff will soon go up, but the percentage increment is yet to be agreed on by the Technical Committee of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. Executive Secretary of the Commission, Dr. Ishmaelaka, says prevailing economic conditions globally make the increment necessary to enable the utilities to continue to stay in business.
Whatever it is, the tariff will come out, whether the economic conditions are bad or they are not bad, because at the end of the day, the utilities will also need to get money to buy gas and other things to produce the power. If we decide not to determine the tariff, they need even the tariff for their own planning. Those who want to go and take loans, they need them to. So if we decide not to come out with a tariff at all, it will have a lot of implication on the utilities. And if
Well, we'll take a quick break here on the Midday News. We are live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra and Kumasi. It's on Love 99.5 FM. We are on Lolonyo FM in Hohoe, A1 Radio, Dreams FM in Bolgatanga, Jubilee Radio in Keta. We are on myjoyonline.com, live on Facebook, also on Spotify. When we return, we hit the election headquarters and stop the impudence. Chairman of governing NPP takes on critics who are charging the party to postpone its national officers election due to the current economic crisis in the country.
I should not even spend money on myself because you think there is austerity to ask of us not to even organize our elections. And it's marks of impudence. Honestly, he doesn't understand what he's talking about. So let him. It's intellectual propaganda.
Yema Wakwaba, ba Akwaba Magic Ebusia, brand new channel, Tia Roba, Emuno Tiao, Ewo DSTV channel 149, and Go TV channel 108. Enianom Akwaba Magic Ebusia, Eddie Niger Ghanaian programs mu Baufi, Ebit said the day, to have and to hold, and Yom Senior Cassia, series and talk show, Bemo Wakao TV set Nichi, Akwaba Magic Ebusia, Ewo DSTV access to your 50 Ghana cities per and Go TV value, to your 25 Ghana cities per Ebusia, Akwaba.
The MPP is poised to break the 8.
The party elects new national executives to lead the charge.
Your election headquarters has assembled the best political team
on radio, television, and online to bring you the most comprehensive coverage.
The Joy News special build-up series will focus on the key candidates and positions.
Friday, July 15, will bring you the Election Eve special from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m.
with Winston Amwa and myself live on Joy News.
We'll bring you unmatched coverage of the National Delegates Conference at the Accra Sports Stadium
from 9 a.m. to the final results are declared. Only on Joy News, your election headquarters.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Midday News, here on Joy 99.7 FM and Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi. We do sports. Oreku, what do we have?
Well, 2,000 plus athletes and over 190 countries would be after medals in 49 disciplines of this year's World Athletics Championships in Oregon. And Ghana has not been left out. A team of 7 athletes headlined by Ghana's fastest man, Benjamin Azamati, are currently in the United States hoping to end Ghana's 16-year wait for a medal at the Games. And Azamati, who is currently the 7th fastest man in the world, is feeling confident ahead of his 100-meter heat, which happens at 1:50 a.m. here in Ghana.
As they say, experience is not sold in the market. And then prior to the Olympics, I think I needed those kind of competitions to know where I'm at going into major championship and all that. So I think it really helped. Getting to know, going through the heats and all that. I think it really, helped me coming into this major competition. The pressure is there, but the pressure is just for you to, come here and then do your best and then, put up good times and, advance to the next stages and be in the final, win a medal for your country.
So Benjamin Azamati would be competing tonight around midnight, as I said, 1:50 a.m. But he wouldn't be the only person, as Joseph Paul Amwa, Ghana's 200-meter record holder, will also be competing in the 100-meter event.
Well, we'll look out for it. And the day is finally here. But before we talk about the executive elections for today, chairman of the governing New Patriotic Party is taking on critics who are charging the party to postpone its national officers election due to the current economic woes in the country. Executive director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleiman Abrahima, in a tweet suggested that it will be insensitive for the NPP to hold the event amidst the current crisis. But chairman of the party, Freddie Blay, has been reacting.
He's serious, It doesn't look. That's a party with its own constitution. A party is different from government. Government doesn't hold that the party should not have elections. We should sit home. We shouldn't have any elections. Honestly, he doesn't understand what he's talking about. So let him. It's an opinion he's expressed, but it's propaganda kind of intellectual propaganda.
Because he's coming from the background there. There is economic hardship, and everybody seems to be complaining. Why would the party in government be doing a congress that, to all intent and purposes, people will be spending money here and there?
It's completely out of place. We are going to get last election. We're going to suggest the Memianya elections. Now, because of COVID, and we shouldn't. But it was that there will be definitely a vacuum. What do you do? How do you go about it? And you are saying, and fortunately, the party is on its own, is going to do so at its own expense. And you are telling me that I should not even spend money on myself because you think there is austerity in the air. I think to ask of us not to even organize our elections. And it's marks of impudence, to say the least.
Outgoing chairman of the NPP, Freddie Blader, speaking to Asempa FM's OB on Ekosi, saying, well, let's talk about today's and tomorrow's elections. It's just started, and we're heading to the Accra Sports Stadium shortly to join my colleague Blessed Suga. But let me first bring in the chairman of the Elections Committee, Peter McMahon, joining us on the line. We are grateful for your time here on the Midday News. First, before everything, we had mentioned that all candidates should take down their billboard. We still have quite a number of them in town with no action. How come? Hello, Mr. McMahon.
Again, please.
I'm saying that ahead of the elections today, there was a directive for all candidates to pull down their billboards, amongst others. It appears we still have them. How come?
Oh, are you sure we still have them?
Yes, we do, sir.
No. There's no evidence to that effect.
Have you been to Tesano, for instance, sir?
Oh, I've been around, and the Greater Accra Regional Minister has been helping in that regard with his team. And he has assured me that all billboards, even it's not only in Greater Accra, in other regional capitals, should be pulled down.
And so from where you sit and stand, you say that all these billboards are down. Let's talk about modalities for today and tomorrow. Everything set?
Everything is on course. As I speak to you, I am at the Accra Sports Stadium meeting the aspirants or their representatives for whatever concerns they have.
Their support for John Bwedu. Is that something your rules and regulations allow?
I am not aware of that, but a few people have hinted me of that. I'm not aware of that, but
and if that is the case, they've hinted you, what happens?
Well, we are in the course of investigating the city. That's
Unfortunately, we have that interruption with Peter McMahon's line there. He's chairman of Elections Committee there. But my colleague Blessed Suga is live at the Accra Sports Stadium. Let me bring him in. Blessed, what can you report from where you are?
A couple of minutes ago, I engaged Director of Elections for the New Patriotic Party, Evans Mako, who told me that all is set for tomorrow's engagement. And as we speak, the security has been deployed to ensure safety. He says the party won't make use of any internal security arrangements or vigilante groups or others. And so all is set now as we speak at the Accra Sports Stadium.
That's my colleague Blessed Suga there. And Joy News, your election headquarters. We're bringing you comprehensive coverage of the conference beginning from tonight. We have the election eve, and my colleague Joseph Akable, a member of the political desk, joins me in studio. What are we to expect in terms of our coverage?
So we'll bring you comprehensive coverage. It begins from tonight with a special 2-hour show on a Joy News channel from 8 to 10 p.m. We'll analyze the various candidates and make projections. We'll deploy the best political team on radio, TV, and online, including a crack team of experts from academia within the MPP itself as part of our coverage. And so just stay with all the Joy platforms and you get the very best coverage. Online, on radio, and on television. And coverage for tomorrow starts at 9 a.m. Tonight is 8 to 10 p.m. Join Evan Spencer, Winston Amwa for Election Eve special. And that's how we wrap up tonight, this morning's edition, or this afternoon's edition of the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. And Baumia must resign. Professor Bokping, and payments at government agencies to go up as Parliament passes fees and charges bill. That and more on myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apawu. We have Living Word with Pastor Mensa Oteville. Have a good afternoon.
life wonderful when everything